Got the pledge to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Kelly.
Mark Foltz.
Here.
Mark Frazier.
Here.
Francis Griffith.
Here.
Ellie Schmitz here. Troy Carmen.
Here. Okay, agenda. Got an agenda.
We just had one addition, cyber liability insurance.
Okay, new business. Motion to accept the agenda is modified.
So moved.
Troy, seconded.
Sorry.
Okay, Butch, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Should have your minutes from May 5th somewhere in your packet.
Just the one thing down in the recycling part, where the line of starts, they still need, that should be 30,000, not 300,000.
Oh, yeah, right, 30, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Other than that, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
All right, Troy, seconded. Mark? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have two public comment sessions. We have a short one and an extended one. Public comments, any public comments right now?
If your item is on the agenda, you can talk during that time too.
True.
So,
So you're going to be on the mark later. I mean, you might be coming up soon, but, okay.
When you give me the nod.
All right, anybody? Okay. Sheriff's report, Mark.
I have the report for the month of May. Looks like there's 28 total calls in Perry Township.
Okay.
4 of them looks like traffic stops, 5 accident related, 3 frauds, 2 suspicious situations that are included in that 28.
Okay.
so this time we got a pipe wreck.
Well,
Let's try something new.
this is something new to
Yeah.
me, so I'm just trying to
Well,
figure it out.
we've gotten something new each month. Well, no.
How's everything at the sheriff's office?
Going good.
Good.
Yep,
Good. Report, everything's fine.
everything's going good.
All right. Is he back to doing a lot of live where they're in the courthouse now?
It's starting to get back that way, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
It sounds like they want to try to possibly start trials up on the 29th of this month.
End of the month. Okay.
So I guess it gets to figure on the numbers, COVID numbers and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's what they're pushing for.
Okay, Mark. Thank you.
All right?
Appreciate it. Mark, Cecil.
Not a whole lot other than we approved some more amendments to the COVID policy to align ourselves more with what my OSHA demanded. The only real thing that cropped up was we're one of 2 townships that haven't done anything about getting the $65 thing approved to be able to start being collected at the end of the year.
So our special assessment resolution calls for us to do it in September.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's fine. I mean, nobody was upset. It's just that some of the people that they've already started collecting in some townships.
Oh.
They shouldn't be collecting until this one.
Well,
Taxes.
what they were told to do is just to hold the money back.
Oh.
You know, so.
Is there a meeting this month?
Sesame meeting? Yes.
What date, do you know?
It'll be the 3rd Monday.
Okay, that's what I thought, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and we will be here again.
When do you think you'll be back in your own?
Well, we
space?
see we've added board members. It's pretty cramped in there, so until they get the social distancing thing kind of taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. So you're here, you'll be here.
At least this month, and
Okay.
we'll play it by ear.
Okay, well, good.
So, but yeah, since we're not, our assessment was a 10-year assessment, and we're only halfway through it. We just have to have the one hearing to modify the amount, and it says September, so we'll do the notices in
Okay.
August. And stuff like that.
It's cool. Sounds good to me.
And we did meet on the DDA. We had a meeting. We approved the budget for next year. I'm doing this from memory, guys. forgot my paper, but, it was a,
You did the budgets and everything.
good meeting, we,
I'm gonna have to go to their next meeting in July, because we're gonna have to have a more in-depth discussion about roads.
okay, yes,
Yeah,
that would
because
be
there's
helpful. Yeah, that would be helpful.
Some lack of understanding, the Rose Boulevard things come up again, and whose responsibility it is to pay for it and
Yeah,
everything else, so.
yeah, and that'll be the.
So I
major
told
topic.
Mark I would come to the July meeting.
So other than that, we are working with Consumers Energy on getting new street lights from the corner, working with the mayor of the city of Perry. We'll have part A and part B. Part A from, McDonald's all the way up to Britton Road, and then our property starts at Britton Road to Signature Ford. The lights will be similar to the one on the going toward Morris, the metal poles, so we're working with Consumers Energy on that, and also NDOT. And we're working on the proposal, we're going to try to have that by the July meeting, so everybody's looking forward to that, so.
Are they gonna run as many lights in that direction as they ran in north?
Say it
Are
again.
they gonna run as many lights?
I don't know,
It'd be spaced about the same.
It's similar, underground cable, and then every space there, yeah. The light is very, it's not very, it's not that intense, it's more of a pretty downward.
Yeah, but it lights it up pretty nice without being blaring.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and people have had good comments on it, I really have. So, and it's LED, it's the most efficient lights that they have, so that's good. Zoning, we didn't really have anything on zoning, so that's that. John is not here, county commission, library.
Well, they spent the majority of their meeting this time going over the new website,
Oh,
getting a tour of it from the people that build it. And they've hired a new person for Byron. They're having problems in Byron again with the schools. And then included in your packet was all the programs for summer, the summer reading programs of military program in their own words and the regular schedule.
okay. Did they talk, is the building in Morris okay, no leaks? Everything?
They get a minor one once in a while, but nothing like they had before.
Okay,
Not the monsoons inside they used to have.
good. Okay, Troy, trade quarter, I-69 trade.
We have our first in-person meeting since like October of 2019, next week.
Oh, good, okay, next week. Okay. All right, and now we're going to go back to Mark for the SEDP, Economic Development.
We're working on setting up some subcommittees that we haven't had before in SEDP. And 3 of the ones they've talked about are real estate, workforce, which is job development. Supposedly there's about 1,500 open jobs in the county right now.
Wow.
And then a business one that would be more leaning toward retail business, which is kind of a new area for SEDP that came up during the COVID thing in the meetings that he had daily.
Oh,
Got a lot of response and
okay.
so those are kind of in a developing stage. The annual meeting is going to be on the 23rd of June at 2 p.m. at Langsburg in McClintock Park in the amphitheater. They've made application to change from the 501c6, I think they are, to a 501c3. Don't know yet. And Justin was invited to present what SEDP's pandemic response was, the phone call program and everything else. He had a statewide meeting and he had a lot of positive response from it.
Okay, good. All right. And then the planning commission. You guys
Well, we
met?
met, we gave support to the pole barn with the close to the
Thorn
setback,
Thorn
yeah,
Apple.
because of where it was at. And they brought up again when we're gonna have our joint meeting, and I said,
Oh.
after planning season.
So they haven't forgotten about it.
That's right, they want to join,
Yeah, we'll have to
joint meeting,
find out
okay,
sometime.
okay. All right, was that it?
That was it, yep.
All right, should have the bills in front of you, the financial report and pay the bills, Troy.
Yep, you got your bills list there, boy, not really anything out of the ordinary, just kind of normal things. We did have our annual insurance renewal, a few of our road bills have started coming in, but,
So we had a brine bill and a gravel bill?
yep, grime and gravel and that culvert, so.
Okay, okay.
Other than that, just kind of normal stuff.
Cemetery, okay, okay. Anything that, we'll have to put the janitor back to work because we're starting to rent the hall,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, start to have all rental. And just a side note on, the federal stimulus money and stuff. I looked at a couple of things, our auditor had sent me some stuff and I looked at the other day. So given our population size, our money will flow through the state of Michigan. We won't get it directly from the federal government. Any community under 50,000, that's how it works. So it'll be when the state gets to it.
Do we only get half of it?
In other words, when we see it, we got it.
When we see it, we got it, right? When the check comes was when we'll have it. As is my understanding, half is supposed to come this year and then the other half next year. The rules are fairly well, there's gonna be extensive reporting requirements. You know, I mean, it's federal money, there's always strings attached to federal money. Sounds very clear that it's, you know, for us, the types of things we have here would be infrastructure related. Water or sewer or broadband, you know, improvements, and those are gonna be out. It very clearly does not have anything about roads in there. One thing, I was on the phone with the drain commissioner about another matter a few days ago, and he did say one of the sewer components of it can be drains, county drains for storm, because they're considered storm sewers. So, you know, they may be looking at, you know, potential projects that the county can tie in with it to add large money on too. Because also one of the things they cannot use it for is pension.
Good.
That is spelled right out in one of those.
It's a
line
deficit.
items.
or
Yeah,
anything.
can't do that. Can't reduce taxes with it. And also the other part, Mark, remember you had mentioned one time was about any lost revenue, like for our hall rental, because we couldn't rent the hall. That is permissible, but they look at the budget as a whole. And your whole budget, even if you had an area that was under, if something else went to make it up, it doesn't. Your whole budget as a whole had to be in a, you know, run deficit due to that loss.
And our budget was pretty healthy.
You know what, I
But our
forgot,
budget was over.
I forgot something on Cessa.
Oh,
You know, we had the funeral last Friday
For
for Bill
Bill
Colby.
Colby, yeah.
Who'd been serving, representing the township and maybe the city, I'm not sure, for many years.
Well, he was our fire board rep before Cessa was created,
Right.
and then he's been on, well, he was a rep, and then he was an at-large member for a while, and then he was, you know, he was on the CISA board the entire time it's existed.
Right.
He was on our fire board before
And
that.
and his son Mike told me that this was something he was really proud of. And they brought 2 fire trucks and 10 firemen to the funeral in the rain, but
yeah.
they did do that. And it was kind of exciting to also be the first event in the township hall in
Mhm.
over a year, so.
You're right.
Yeah, everything went fine, everybody was, so.
Hard Jordan. Yeah.
Yep.
No, Bill served on that a long time.
You know. Yeah, and of course, he was the chairman of our SCOA board too, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
thanks for that, Mark.
No
Okay,
Yeah, finish the
so
bills.
financial report and pay the bills. We back to that?
Yes, I just need a motion.
problem. Motion. Second.
Motion been made by Mark, seconded by Butch. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Ellie Schmidt, yes, Ray Farmer.
Yes.
We shall pay the bills. Okay. I only have one correspondent, was actually what I wrote to John Plowman. at your request of the last meeting where we talked about our, on May 5th, when Dave Dragoo from the Greater Lansing Recyclers wanted us to entertain a contribution. And
Oh, right.
Troy mentioned that we should write a letter, so I did. I said it's, Eagle will give him a $50,000 free money grant, but they need $30,000 more for the maintenance of the building and also for a used fork truck to move the materials, and one other item they needed. Anyway, it was our recommendation that the Solid Waste Committee of the Shiawassee County provided financial support to help with this. It serves a large area of the towns in the southwest part of our county. John, partner with us, please. And he did get with Cindy Garber, and he got an additional $3,000 for sure, but he was trying to get more. And that's the last I heard. I met with him when I presented the letter, and he called me later. And so they are working, trying to get more funding for that also, which will be matched by the Cook Foundation also. So then, so it's double that. So.
Well, I mean, the logical thing was the county has solid waste money specifically for that purpose, so.
And a side note on communication that Kelly and I both received, probably Troy did too, an email from MTA recommending that we encourage Tom Barrett, our rep from this area, who actually lives more near the Charlotte area, but Tom was voting today in Lansing on making sure that the townships have a voice in the sand and gravel pits, etc., so that we don't have somebody building a gravel pit right next door to you within 300 or 400 feet. Right now, that's what they want to do, and so the MTA is taking a strong stance that no, it needs local authority, local people need to make that decision. So we're hoping that, I don't know how the vote went today, but we're hoping that that's how it happened. So that was the only other correspondence that we had that I know of. Kelly, okay. Public comments, first turn. Ladies before gentlemen. I mean, that's just me, It doesn't have to be that way, but I think
No,
so.
that's fine.
Okay, and your name?
I'm Lisa Hatt.
Huh?
I'm Lisa Hatt.
Oh, hi, okay.
Hi. And I was just coming to, my husband passed away in December, and I wanted to do a monument out at the cemetery. I own a couple of
In our
plots.
cemetery here at Roseland,
Yep.
okay.
Roseland Cemetery. And I have a couple plots there where, he's been buried, and so I've got the size requirements, and then I called to confirm my size requirements, and I was told you can't have a metal monument
Statue or whatever.
or whatever. And I said, why can't I have a metal one? That's what I want. She's like, no, it has to be marble or stone.
Have you got a copy of the, our rules, I guess you call them?
No.
Guidelines? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
So I was coming today to see what alternatives that I could do, if there was any variances that were granted for those type of things. I've been in the community a long time, my family's buried out there. We've been to the old side, and we were talking about maintenance and stuff like that.
Lisa, I'm kind of the new guy on the block here, so I'm gonna, Kelly's been heading that up, and Troy's been with us forever, a long time, the treasurer, and so I meeting these guys have been actually on board longer than I have, but let's start with Kelly, because she is our person that takes care of that
And I
cemetery.
think, did I talk to you?
Yep.
I wasn't sure who I talked to, so I apologize.
That's okay. So under the foundations and markers and monuments, our section 13, markers and monuments, the township board shall have the authority to reject any memorial that on account of its size, type, design, inscription, quality, color, or method of construction and material is unsuitable. The township board reserves the right to prevent the placement or remove any marker or other objects that do not comply with the standards of the cemetery. All marker monuments, chair, benches, bases, urns shall be made of a durable material such as granite, marble, bronze, or concrete. Wooden, iron, and plastic markers and monuments, crosses, trellises, shepherd's hooks, chair benches, and bases are not permitted. So that is the rule that I had talked to you about because of the metal. The other thing that I had talked to you about, you wanted it 36 inches wide by 72 inches long. Sorry.
72 inches wide, 36 inches deep.
Okay.
Same thing, you said the
I
same
wasn't
thing.
sure, because
Yeah,
I'm kind of like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna go like my plat.
Yeah.
it's
So our
up to you.
standard width of a headstone is 12 inches. That keeps the headstone in line with the other headstones that are there. Okay. 72 inches, you could meet that if you spread that across 2 plots. The plots are a total of 80 inches, so the 72 inches would be okay, but the 36 inches is too wide for the plot. It would get into the fact that if we needed to do a full burial, it would be encroaching on that space that we would have to dig. That's another issue that we would have with that.
And the maximum we go is, 12 is our standard, but we can go up to
20 inches.
20 inches, correct.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so in our rule book, every rule that's in here is because it was an issue at some point. I mean, they weren't just kind of randomly come up with it, it's because, you know, they were somehow a problem. The reason we have the regulation in there about the material type is, of course, because we have to look at how this affects 100 years from now, you know, down the road. And so the reason they have to be made out of, you know, normal monument material is so that they withstand and can be there. I mean, we have monuments out there that date back to the Civil War time frame, and the problem with a metal, anything made out of metal is, you know, as it sits out there and as people aren't around anymore or anything, I mean, it will eventually, you know, rust apart and not be there. And so that's why we have that requirement. Same thing for wooden crosses and stuff like that. We've had people that wanted to do those. The problem is over time, you know, they rot out and fall down, and then, you know, no one's around to maintain them, and they become a problem there. So that's why we have, you know, in there, like I said, every one of these rules is based on some sort of past experience. For example, we have a no shrub, we don't allow shrubs to be planted there. Well, trees, because on the old side there, you know, in the Civil War area, somebody planted some shrubs in there, and now there are these 100-foot tall Sitka pine trees that are at the end of their life, and you know, they look very nice until one gets hit by lightning or gets caught in a windstorm. We had a windstorm come through Straight Line Winds a few years ago, and I mean, we had $20,000 in damage. I mean, it broke old headstones and everything. So I'm just kind of giving you a perspective of, you know, why our rules are where they are. As far as the width of the marker too, like Kelly said, max we can go is 20 inches, because if we go wider than that, it's on top of the grave. And so I assume this would be straddling where your husbands are and where you would be.
Correct.
And so wouldn't be able to get a burial in
I'm
there.
gonna be cremated, won't be a problem.
Well,
I could be on the same plat as my husband.
There is kind of a problem.
and yes, lots of people, until you're actually there though, we have to have the space laid for a full burial, because we've actually had this situation happen before too, where somebody was supposed to be cremated and everything. Well, when they came down to it, one of the children objected. And and this is state law, this isn't anything with us, if there's some sort of dispute in the family, it becomes a full burial.
No cremation,
That's the state law. If one of the heirs somehow objects, it becomes a full burial, and so that would be an issue there too. So, I mean, if you can get the marker to be made out of, you know, one of those, you know, approved materials, and, you know, keep it to the 20 inches wide, the length isn't a problem, you know.
I
Going
can't
over
get it
to-
the marker that I want, I can't get to that size. It has to be the 36 inches. I want a bench. I want to be able to go out and sit on a bench. And my family wants to be able to go out and sit on a bench. I don't want a bench for a marker. I couldn't use a bench that they make for markers because it's not approved material, because again, you're back into metal.
Well, you can have
They have granite benches.
yeah, there's some out there.
There are some out there that are the smaller, narrower benches, and I've seen some of those, but the bench with the monument on it that I want, I can't get if it's not in metal.
So So the ones that you're seeing are over 1 grade. The maximum size that we can have on 1 grade is 36 inches. So I don't know, you know, where you look. I don't know if you can get, I know that there are larger benches. There's one on the old section on the way back line. And it's probably the size of this table. And it's a full bench. But it's
As far as
made-
long, but it's not width-wise.
Well, I don't know what the width is. It's probably a standard width of,
So my question is, what kind of variance can be made to do a larger project like that?
of
Is there
metal,
any?
of metal.
Of metal.
I don't think that.
I mean, metal is, we manufacture metal every day that has a 50-year guarantee on paint finish. So I don't know how you couldn't expect that if it has 50-year just on paint finish, that it wouldn't survive 100 years down the road.
Do you have the spec that we could pull up and see and read about it?
I can get you something on
That
it.
might be.
I mean, like I said, our rules are in here for a reason.
And I understand it, there's a metal cross down the way from my husband's grave.
And metal crosses, and they are tagged, and if they don't remove it, we remove it.
It's been there for quite a while. It's-
The
it's
metal
all
cross, that metal cross it's like a shepherd's hook. I mean, that was, when that was put in there, that was the idea is that it would be like a shepherd's hook. Our rules state that it has to be secured so it can't fall over. And that one is actually implanted
Bolted
in
into
the
the
metal,
concrete.
or it's in the concrete.
If I see that.
So that's why that got there.
So it's
If
not
you-
gonna be removed, it's gonna stay there,
That
and
was
it's
the-
made of metal.
It is.
And I can do the same thing with the monument that I want, the only variance would be that I want it deeper. Like I said, the one that's beside my mom's, that stone there is not 12 inches, it's not 20 inches.
There's a difference between something like that and a 72 by 36 inch metal statue.
We have different people that maintain the cemetery. We have a gentleman that mows with his dad, and we have 2 mowers, and then they weed whack, 3 or 4 different weed whack feet going to maintain the grass. And it's very difficult right now, or any time, to do that and to trim. And we still have complaints on how come I got this grass growing over here when they got some kind of a widget or a wadget or a doohickey that's interceding and causing havoc where the weed whip material will cut the grass. So we can't do everything. I mean, you can't pull grass by hand, I mean, I guess you could,
Well,
but.
that would be your
it's very difficult.
responsibility if you put gadgets out
And
there.
then
I
the other
understand
person is the man that, and his wife that works together to help open the graves and close them and maintain we had one gentleman, his wife passed away a couple of years ago, and the whole spot was, no grass would grow. And so this last week, we bought grass and seed and fertilizer to try to raise the, because for some reason, the top of the vault is real close to the surface of the top. And so it's not deep enough, or didn't get deep enough, or whatever happened, raised, whatever, we don't know. So we're trying to satisfy that, and he's got a project every day, every other day, he's out there doing something with issues, tree limbs breaking, and having to pull them up and get them out of there, because the old part is really old over there. And some of the tombstones are the tall ones, which I don't think, do we
They're
allow
all
those?
No, we don't, and that's why we don't allow
I
those
put
anymore.
flags out a week ago Friday, and, some of them are leaning, and they're not gonna be with us forever, because they're gonna, that's tough, it's just tough to maintain.
And that's
the
where the tree situation comes in, because the roots heave those all up and everything else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, could you find a marker that was deeper than that was done 30 years ago? Probably. But, these are our current standards, and I just, we've had to deal with wooden crosses out there, we've had to deal with lots of that, so. Again, we have to think about what the durability is 100 years down the road, on this, not just what it is today, so.
And we want to try to keep things in line too, and to aid the mowers and the people that maintain it. to have something that sticks that far out, away from the normal headstone line, is a problem for the mowers. So
Well,
we try to keep that
the
back.
thing's too wide because there's not already a burial there. I mean, that makes that
Yes.
plot not eligible for a full burial, and that can be a huge problem. We dealt with that exact problem before, so. I would suggest, try and find a monument to meet the standards there.
Does the board have any other comments? Butch?
The only thing is that even on the metal man, you got the weed whackers and you got the mowers. You know somebody's gonna scratch it. And once it's got scratched, it will not wait 50 years, trust me. It will start rusting.
Any other comments? Kelly?
No, that's all I have.
Mark? Okay, well, we've heard our thoughts, and,
I did.
okay. Any more comments?
No.
Lisa? Okay. Bruce and Linda Cole variance recommendations, that's Mark Frazier. Mark?
That was the one that, on Thornapple, that,
Yeah. You recommended.
that there's a setback. You know, the biggest problem wasn't the setback, it was the fact that it was going in the front yard.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't want it in front of the plane of the front of the house, is the county's stipulation. And when you look at the topography of their yard and their property, they really can't put it behind the house, so they're kind of stuck.
Plus, there's already
There's already a big one way up front,
In
much
front of the
bigger than
house.
this one's gonna be, yeah. So, we just felt that it wasn't going to be
Problem.
it wasn't gonna be a problem where it was at. If it was a lot where there was a building on, adhering to the setback on the other side of the property line, and this was gonna make it that much closer, then that wouldn't make a difference, but
Okay.
it wasn't. So.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Well, I'll make a motion that we concur with the planning commission and forward a recommendation to the ZBA.
Troy's made a motion, second. Butch, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Third on the new business, increase hall rental liability insurance from $500,000 to $1 million. Kelly?
I spoke with the liability insurance company, and we currently have it at $500,000 for
Alcohol
events,
rentals.
for events that have alcohol in it. And he said that, he goes, the going rates that you see on your homeowner's policies are $1 million now anyway, so, he said, I would recommend that you raise it up to at least $1 million.
That's gonna cost us what?
Nothing. It's not us.
This
This
is,
is our standard.
so when somebody rents that has an alcohol event, they have to get
They have to
a
get
liability extension on their homeowners or renters
Okay.
insurance to us, so it just changes the amount.
So all we're doing is
It doesn't-
changing the rule
It
on that.
it usually doesn't cost them anything.
So it's just a rule change,
It is a
basically.
rule change, yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we increase the hall rental liability insurance for alcohol events to
Troy's
$1
made a
million.
motion,
Second.
second by Mark. Roll call? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, next on our agenda, Jeff Harris.
Jeff came on with us as the alternate to the CESA board 2 or 3 months ago. And he, at the time that he agreed to do that, a little bit reluctantly said, I don't want to be the next full-time person. Of course, Bill passed away, we have an opening. I went and talked to Jeff. Jeff said, yeah, it's not,
He's
As
okay.
bad as he thought.
no,
He's
it's,
okay.
it's a pretty nice group of people, and
Okay.
it doesn't take a lot of time,
So he's willing.
and he's willing, so he's got
And
some.
Bill's term was up, wasn't it?
In March.
Yeah. Was up last month.
This March.
This March.
Right, so he had expired, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Jeff is all sworn in and everything, right?
So we don't need to do anything, do we?
Oh, we need to make him, we need
have
to,
make him permanent.
we appointed him as the alternate,
Right.
and so we need to have
Move him
him to fill the unexpired term.
Okay, is that in the form of a motion, Troy?
Sure.
Okay, Troy's made the motion, seconded by Mark, all in favor?
That's
Oh, we need a roll call.
Oh, roll call for Jeff, okay. Kelly?
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Carmeling.
Yes.
Mark Cole.
Yes. All right. Are you Scott?
Yes, I am.
Well, you know, I figured that out. It took me a little bit. I'm like, who is that? Oh, he's on the program. Okay, Scott, Living Church of God rental. Now, that doesn't mean you're renting the Church of God. It means you want to rent the hall.
Yes.
Okay, talk about it.
Okay, I'm speaking on behalf of our church group.
Where are you from? What areas?
Me, I'm actually in Lanesburg.
Okay.
I'm on the planning commission in Lanesburg as well.
Okay.
But we live there. We do have some members in our church that are in this township as well. We've rented over the past number of years a number of the township buildings. City Hall, we've been there on and off for, I'm guessing, about 3 years. So everywhere from Woodhull Township to Bath Senior Center to a number of the buildings, we've rented for regular Saturday church services. And then sometimes like a Holy Day situation that would be during the day. And we had a building down on, what was it, the old Kingdom Hall building, down at 52. We were there for a while, and then COVID happened. Then another church group rented it. They offered more money and got in there. So we haven't really been able to attend. We're doing Zoom meetings right now. We just got the okay from our headquarters, which is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this area here, we have 2 church groups. One in Lansing Greater and then one in Flint.
Okay.
So, you know, we've rented all over the area for a number of years. So we're very, familiar with how policies and procedures and all
How
that.
many folks are usually there?
Our church group is about 25, and when we meet up with the other group as a combined service, probably once a month, we'll be somewhere around 50 or 60 people.
And you say you meet on Saturdays?
Yes, yeah, we believe we're a Sabbath-keeping church, so we go Saturdays. We're usually renting a hall for, for example, from 1 to 4 or something. We have a 2-hour service.
Aren't the majority of our, when we're back in the swing of
Weddings.
weddings and so forth, aren't Saturdays the busiest day?
That's why we're here, yes. Yeah.
And we're free to, sometimes in agreeing to long-term commitments, we'll actually, if we can meet early in the morning one day to accommodate things in the afternoons, like you guys have big wedding seasons here, we could do mornings or we could do later afternoons, but typically anywhere from 10 to 1 we start our church services. So we're pretty open to it, but we're just looking for a place to have long-term Sabbath services.
So, when you talked to Darlene about the request, and your request was to have basically a standard reservation for every Saturday, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
And so, the reason we decided to bring it to the board here was because, like what Mark said, the majority of our rentals are on Saturdays, and,
And sometimes 2 of them.
yeah, and so we have to
It-
We have to decide if we're gonna, the problem is the township hall here is for the residents, to rent it for events and stuff like that. And if we tie up every Saturday, we've tied up, we've eliminated weddings.
Scott, and just so you get your thoughts on how it works. A lot of times they'll pay $50 and they rent it on Friday night so they can set up on Friday so that they can do their thing on Saturday. So it really, we not only get the money for the Saturday, but then we're getting additional, they come in, 3 or 4 o'clock on Friday and set everything up. So they don't have to do that, at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning on Saturday. So, so really, you might think, well, why wouldn't they just let us have it for 3 or 4 hours? But it really gets more deeper than that, that I noticed. That's
We're
what I was.
familiar with
Okay.
City Hall.
Yeah.
They had an upstairs and a downstairs, so
Yes,
if they had an event going, we just go downstairs, and
Sure.
sometimes we would assist somebody set up and tear down and build back up again, for example.
Sure.
Sometimes for a Thanksgiving or a Christmas thing, we would actually help them tear down. We'd have our service and then help them build back up again if they had a weekend event. So, we're always willing to do things and go above and beyond. But
So, why aren't you doing City Hall anymore?
actually, they weren't renting.
Oh.
Actually, hardly anybody was renting.
We have just started rentals this past week. We haven't rented
Yeah, and a lot of
in
folks,
15 months.
a lot of folks still aren't. So I've been making the rounds, calling to see, and, I've been talking to the gal over there, and they're still not renting yet. So.
Because, City Hall has a unique situation. They have council chambers downstairs, which is a smaller room that can accommodate, you know, a
Which
small.
we've rented many times.
Yeah, right. And we just have the one room here. The other venue, have you looked into at all, is the Morris Senior Center?
No, I'd be happy to.
Because
Yeah.
it's run by SCO, which is the Council on Aging, but they have a similar situation, they have multiple rooms.
Mhm.
So, I mean, people can rent the whole facility, which few do, but they have a gymnasium, then they have like a banquet room, and then they have a small room, so they have multiple, so you can rent just part of it, and that might work better for a smaller group. I mean, our struggle here is if we commit to you every Saturday here, we're being really unfair to anybody who wants to have a wedding. I mean, it puts us out of the wedding business.
Can I ask
I think Kim
we're-
Jewell runs.
We're lucky that
Senior
Darlene
Center.
is here. We're rented, aren't we, in June? In July?
Oh, yeah.
So what we did,
Already.
over COVID was we penciled people in.
Mhm.
And said, we will put your name in on the calendar, but understand that it will be based on what the state says as far as what we can do and what we can't do.
Mhm.
And there were a great many of them that had to cancel. But the ones that said, yep, we're gonna do a graduation open house on this date, can you pencil us in, we understand, you know. So we did that, and so we're pretty full June, July, and some of August even.
Which is normal. I mean,
Those are
normally
our
we're,
busy
So
times.
what's the name of the place in Morris? I'm gonna write it down.
It's
Morris Senior Center.
yeah,
Yeah, it's run by SCOA, I think.
Yeah,
let's go.
Shiawassee County.
Office on Aging.
Yeah.
We're actually looking for, you know, just brick and mortar businesses that aren't renting right now.
Sure.
We could easily use any
You
home
know,
this
another
size.
place, I checked with the pharmacy uptown.
Okay,
They're leasing their place.
Yeah,
The other half of the building, yeah.
yeah,
That may be a perfect place.
yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
I'm happy to write it down here. Good,
I-
you guys are helping me.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, that was when you talked to Darlene, I mean, that was our struggle. I mean, if we lock out all of our residents and everything, because we're the only place around that allows alcohol, so we have,
And we're one of the this capacity is 320.
right, and we have
Yeah, I
one of
saw
our
that was
large
one thing, one of the reasons why we come here if we have combined events.
Yeah.
But
I mean, certainly, renting just periodically, I mean, there's no problem with that, but to schedule you in every Saturday, that would be a problem and kind of unfair to one else, but I mean, certainly,
After the meeting, I'll give you Kim's number, her cell phone.
she's
That's
the one
She
who runs
runs it
that.
over there. And
yeah, I'd be
of
happy to
course,
call her.
and then-
Heather,
Do very large events there.
Heather, what's her name? Russell is the one you want to talk to, I think, for Southern Pharmacy.
Heather Russell.
Okay.
We have a sign out in front too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just about anybody in the pharmacy could get the message to her if you want.
Oh, right, but she's there all the time, she's the pharmacist.
Okay.
Well, she's part owner.
so the city of Perry is not renting?
No, they're not renting yet.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, believe it
Well,
or
like I
not.
said, we just start, Bennington Township has rented virtually the entire pandemic, you know. So if they decide,
I have her.
but, no,
I'll give it
we
to
have
you.
followed the state guidelines on it, and it was after this past change where felt it was appropriate to do so.
Mhm.
Kim's number there is 625-1622,
That's her home.
and that's her home number, yeah. That's
625?
Yep,
Yes.
517-625.
Mhm.
1622.
1622, that's,
Yep.
Yeah, Kim College Jewel.
Yeah.
what was her last name again?
Jewel.
Jewel,
Okay.
Kim and Pat, her hubby's Pat. Which I saw him today, we picked
Yep.
our meal up there today.
She can answer all that, and like I said, periodic rentals is fine, and the times of the year, it's not a big deal, but we're May through August, we're booked.
Solid.
Oh, I know, I used to be a wedding
Saturday and
singer, so.
Oh, did ya? Oh, did ya?
And even in most of December, November and December, we do.
Holiday events.
September and January are slow, so. Okay,
Are you all all set, Scott?
Yeah, fair enough, thanks.
Okay,
I
fair
just
enough.
wanted to be able to sit and talk with you guys and
Sure.
see what the options were.
Yeah.
And look, you've been helpful, so I've got a couple contacts now, so
Okay.
it pays to ask questions.
Yes, it does.
Okay, we got some vacations coming up here and there, so we need to change the August meeting, which is supposed to be the first week of August, on the Wednesday.
It's
July.
not a vacation. I have a business
Business
meeting
dealing.
that I've got to be out of town for
Others.
the,
Yeah.
well, in theory, if everything was a perfect world, I could maybe be back by
That's
7,
okay.
but I'm in central Illinois till 1 o'clock the day of our meeting.
No,
So-
don't.
So anyway, and Kelly has time the week after. Would there be any objections to moving it up a week?
July 28th, Wednesday, July 28th. Is that okay?
At
7?
this
I mean, you're
point,
the one that's out of town a lot, Mark. Is that work for you?
I'm not out of town overnight much at all
Okay.
anymore. So.
Okay.
Are you good with that, Butch?
Butch is okay with it.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that we reschedule our August meeting to July 28th at 7 PM.
Second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And then the add-on agenda is Troy Cyber Liability Insurance. Cyber.
Kelly actually got
Okay,
it.
so we got a renewal from the Decker Agency. And
Property and liability insurance.
one of the things that was in the email he wrote was that there is cyber liability insurance available to us. The available limit begins at $100,000 with premiums starting at $700.
Per year.
And I think I put that in there, it shows what it covers
Per year, right?
per year,
Per
yeah.
year.
I guess we need to decide.
The insurance world is ready to sell this with everything that's been going
Well,
on, so. And, you know,
That's more money than going with something like Lifeline.
Well, yeah, and what was it, $5,000 for the policy?
yeah, our general policy for all of our buildings and liability and everything is $5,000 a year. They want $700 a year to cover $100,000, which isn't that much. So, you know, he had brought it up when he met with Kelly and I for our renewal a year or two ago, and, you know, we thought it was expensive for what it is.
I'm not sure that we don't need some kind of protection, but I think we need to look around more. Because I bought Lifeline for our business computers and our personal ones, and it's, I don't know, 300 a year or something.
And the fact of the matter is, we are somewhat old school around here and have a lot of things on paper.
Right,
You
and
know.
that includes Norton, and it includes a VPN if you want it.
They bought-
But there is
Same
very, very few documents that I don't have a paper copy of. too.
Right, it isn't that so much, it's getting
Oh,
in
that's what
and
it
creating
is.
problems.
Sure, but it can be both, you know, I mean,
And
If
the
you
best,
know
and the
that.
best sales tool they got is what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. with
absolutely, I'm
pipelines
sure,
and meat
I'm
pipes.
sure that's why it was stuck in there, so.
Sure,
Well, so is our consensus, we'll just explore it a little more?
that's what I feel.
Does
Okay.
the jail,
That's
do they have a special, what do you call this, cyber liability insurance or account, do you know?
Oh, I'm sure.
I would not have any idea.
I don't know.
That's
either.
way
You
above
can
my
ask,
pay
you'd
grade.
have to ask John.
John? Oh, John. Why isn't John here today? Excuse me.
So
Probably
we're
golfing.
over.
He was in JV last night. That's-
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay, so we're just gonna put this on hold?
Yep.
On hold, okay. Any other comments? Public comments? Okay, thanks for coming. Thanks for
Motion
coming.
to adjourn.
Good night, thanks for coming.
Second.
Second, Boyd and Mark. All in favor?
Aye.